All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon, and in this video, we're going to talk about Gervonta Tank Davis pushing on Floyd Mayweather Jr. to get the VASYL Lomachenko fight, and also what Calvin Ford, his coach, said in a very recent interview. Let's talk about those things in this video. Right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon. Thank you so much for watching the video. We're going to be talking about the lightweight division in a fight that, according to people out of the camp or close to the camp of Gervonta Tank Davis, Gervonta Davis wants very badly, and that is a fight with VASYL Lomachenko. And also, we're going to talk about what Calvin Ford said in a recent interview that you can get, you can check out on, I do believe it's on Boxing News 24. But before I get into that, though, let me first say, please support our sponsor. We got fights coming up this weekend with Gary Russell Jr. If you go to busr.ag/Fanon and use the promotional code Fanon101, you will get, for your $10 deposit, you will get an additional amount of money so that you can wager. So definitely take advantage of that when you watch the Gary Russell Jr. fight that is coming up this weekend So let's get into that. Also, make sure that you share, like, and subscribe to the video. Share the video, like the video, subscribe if you're not subscribed, and hit that bell icon so you can be notified of when we release more videos. All right, so here we go. All right, Gervonta Tank Davis, and this was said maybe about a month ago, it was said by Gervonta Davis in public. It's also been said that Gervonta Davis is pushed in private, that he is getting a little bit tired of all of the talk about the people that he's not fighting, and that he really does want to step up and fight these other guys in the weight division, in the lightweight division, specifically VASYL Lomachenko. And in a recent interview that was given by Calvin Ford, who was the trainer of Gervonta Davis, said that that's the fight that they were looking for, that they've been waiting on that fight for a while, and that they're looking forward to seeing when that fight gets made. So my take on it is, man, I am happy that Gervonta Davis is saying it and pushing on Floyd Mayweather Jr. to get that fight done, because, you know, there's a lot of criticism that goes on about like Canelo Alvarez and the level of fighters that Canelo Alvarez is fighting. And we push back and say, look, man, this guy, you know, he's just not fighting the people, the Jamal Charlos, the Demetrius Andrades, and the such, right? And for me, as somebody that says that, you know, I'm a fan of Gervonta Tank Davis, and I do understand where Floyd Mayweather Jr. and Leonard Ellerbe are coming from, but the time is getting ripe that we actually see him in there with the guys that are top-notch fighters. Now, one thing that Leonard Ellerbe has said, you know, and this was, I do believe, about, I think he was mentioning guys like Devin Haney, saying, look, man, Devin Haney is going to want, I don't know how much is he going to want for this fight, like $5 million for the fight, and how that fight isn't necessarily as big as people think the fights are going to be. So, you know, monetarily, that is an issue with Gervonta Davis. You know, fighting guys like Devin Haney, you know, it may be an issue with him fighting VASYL Lomachenko. But, you know, as a boxing fan, you know, well, as somebody that is a business-minded person, I understand where they're coming from. And I understand that is a, you know, is a legitimate, you know, a concern for the PBC, is a legitimate concern for any promoter that has to make a living, you know, and make sure that they're profitable on fights. We are definitely in the middle of a pandemic, right? So, well, yeah, I think it's safe to say that we're still in the middle of a pandemic, right? Where, you know, attendance to games, I mean, you know, I'm not sure if they've recovered all the way, but then you also have, you know, the issue with, Bob Arum, and whether or not Bob Arum was going to actually want to make the fight with Lomachenko. You know, all that stuff comes into play. But, you know, I'm just happy that you hear that Gervonta Davis himself wants that fight, because I do not think that he is without power in this particular, you know, circumstance. And from what I understand, man, you know, he's at the stage in his career where, dude, he's gonna, like, if the last pay-per-view that he did with Isaac Cruz didn't necessarily do that well, you know, I don't know how long people are going to continue to, he's going to continue to sell out arenas and do that type of stuff if he's not fighting guys that people really know and people want to see him fight, right? And, but maybe it does wind up being, similar to the circumstance, where you have Errol Spence Jr. and Terrence Crawford, right? Where Tim Smith said the same thing about Terrence Crawford. Like, yeah, we love to do the fight. He's a great guy. He's a great guy as far as the talent and all that goes. But, his pay-per-view numbers do not really show that, we'd be able to offer him the type of money that he would want and expect in that fight. I don't know though if that would be the case with VASYL Lomachenko, who does earn significantly less money than Terrence Crawford earns, per fight. I think VASYL Lomachenko is a $3.5 million, I believe that's around the purses that he's making. But, VASYL Lomachenko, I just off of his personality and the fact that he's got such a nice, dollar to I'm not sure what they pay rubies. I don't believe they're on the Russian currency, but whatever the Ukrainian currency is, I'm sure the exchange rate is something like 10-1. He is somebody that could probably afford to take less money up front and take more money back on, on the back end on the pay-per-view. So, hopefully those type of things can get made, that type of fight can get made for Gervonta Davis, because right now, as far as the fight actually goes, I think this is a good time to make that fight. Gervonta Davis looks like he is continuing to get better. I know a lot of people said that they thought that he didn't look that good against Isaac Cruz because he didn't knock out Isaac Cruz, but that's not that wasn't my impression. My impression was that he hurt his hand, clearly hurt his hand, and he adjusted and did what he had to do to win that fight. And that's what you do when you're injured. VASYL Lomachenko is not a young fighter, and he was injured in a fight with Teofimo Lopez, and he was not able to do that. He was not able to overcome his shoulder injury, be able to, make sure he got enough rounds to guarantee him that win. And, even though I think in that particular instance, Gervonta Davis showed, ability to overcome an injury where VASYL Lomachenko wasn't able to overcome that. And, and I don't think that loss, I personally don't think the loss of Teofimo Lopez diminished him because he lost with a hurt shoulder. He came back out, beat Nakatani, beat Comey. And I think as far as for Floyd Mayweather Jr., aside from the money, this would be the perfect time to make that fight. Now, Floyd Mayweather Jr. also had said before that he was interested in making the fight with Lomachenko, and I do believe that was at 130 pounds. But at the time, it almost sounded like he was upset with Gervonta Davis and he was going to throw him to the wolves. I don't think that that's the scenario right now. I think it's a good competitive fight that Gervonta Davis would win. I think that it would be it's good for boxing if the fight happens, and that they should push and try to make that fight. If at the end of the day they're not able to make the fight for whatever reason, okay, they're unable to make the fight. But a fight with Rolly Romero, after a fight with Isaac Cruz, after a fight with, I ain't gonna lie, I do like this Leo Santa Cruz fight. It's just, at a certain point in time, man, I think people are going to start losing interest in those type of fights, and you're not going to be able to continue to grow Gervonta Davis. Now is the time for Gervonta Davis to be in that big fight, and this fight for Gervonta Davis and Lomachenko would be similar, I think, to the fight between Canelo Alvarez and Gennady Golovkin. One fighter's on his way up, another older fighter's on his way down, and it could be perfect timing, for Gervonta Davis in that fight. Where if that fight had happened, maybe at 130 pounds when Gervonta was less mature, he was missing weight and partying a lot in between fights and really blowing up, that may have been a difficult task. But at 135, where his weight he's more comfortable with his weight, he's had more fights underneath his belt, he looks like he's improving as a fighter and more serious about the fight game. I think this is the time to make the fight. And even though it doesn't look that likely that they'll be able to do it, my hat goes off to Gervonta Davis for pushing for it. But anyway, that's my take on the matter. You let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Peace.